All right, so we're now we're looking at taking this form that we've built here. We've saved it with a PHP extension, so it's called index.php. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this form plus all the supporting files and folders, so the images folder, the CSS, the JS, the JavaScript, and the process form.php. We're going to move these all up to the web server. So log into your portal. This is Microsoft Azure's portal. And if you are unfamiliar with this, be sure to circle back to how to FTP into Microsoft Azure and in the prior lesson. So anyway, this is the app that is up and running. So this is the app service. So if we click on this, we can see here there is here's the URL for the app service. So this is the web address where this is going to be running. So I can copy this to my clipboard, excuse me, and we can paste this in the browser and go, and we can see that my service is up and running. So what I'll do is I'll open up FileZilla, and I've got all of the FTP username. So I go up here and go into the site manager. So for this site here, I have the host name, the login, the username, and the password all ready to go. So I simply hit connect, and up we go. So these are with the FTP client here on the left. These are the files that I have been working on so far on my local, on my desktop here. Over here is the you'll see that the directory listing of / is successful. So / is the kind of root directory for this web application on the remote web server. In this case, it's Azure. You can use another service, and you can FTP up to any service that where you have an account, you have credentials being username and password. So on the server, generally when you log in, you're going to get a /. So in this case, that's the root, and then in there are some log files. So that's where the system will be writing access logs. So unless you're a system admin, you don't really have any need to go in there. The site folder will go in there, and then inside there you'll see some other. There's a locks folder and deployments. So these are folders for that Microsoft has put in here, the way they set Azure up, this web app, to work with various tools, proprietary tools like Visual Studio for publishing the files. We're going to use plain old FTP. So what we want to do is we want to put all of our files into the www root. So in this case, depending on how the server is set up, the www root is where the public, any files that you want the public to access through a web address or a URL through a browser must reside. So they must reside in there. So if I go in here, I'll see that there's an HTML file called hosting start, and that indeed is this blue page. So there's the base domain. So this here, for this particular app that I have, yours will be different depending on what you've called it. So I called it COMP1002 S McCrindle, which is the subdomain. This is the primary domain or canonical domain, and then we go /, and if I want to look at this particular file, it's called hostingstart.html. So I put hostingstart.html. You see it's the same page. So if you give file names certain reserved names like index or default or something like that, or in this case hosting start, the server is configured to look for that file automatically. If you don't provide a file name, you just provide maybe a folder, top level folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this. If we right click on this and delete this from the server, it'll prompt us here. We'll say, yeah, get rid of that. And then if I refresh this now, that page has now been removed. That's fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all of the files that we've got locally here, and I'm going to move them up to the server. And I can click and drag into the www root folder, and up they go. So this means when I then type in the URL, obviously hosting start is gone. I can ask for index.php. And there is our form. So that's terrific. So that is very cool. Now, the neat thing about naming a file index, given it could be a .asp extension or .jsp or there's any number of them, PHP or just HTML. If I don't ask for anything, if I just point the browser to the base or root domain here and go, it will still. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Interesting. Must have regenerated that file. That's quite interesting. Or that might be in the cache. Let me see here. Yeah, so there we go. No, that was stuck in the browser cache. So you'll see that I don't even have to put the index or .php. It automatically is configured to look for index.php here on the server. So that's great. So, but what I'm going to do is because I want to use this server for this course, so I've kind of set up this server to be used for a number of different lessons. This is week 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these. So select all of these, delete them, and I'm going to create a new folder. So if I right-click in here and create directory, and we're going to call it week 4. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these files here that I uploaded. I'm going to put them into the week 4 folder on the server. And then if I go in here, you'll see now in the www root folder I have week 4, and then all the files are here. So in order to access this now from the server, I have to go, this points to the www, I need to go into week 4. And I can have the trailing slash or not, but that will pull up the index. That's the same as saying index.php here, because if you don't give it, if you just point it to the browser to a folder name, it will look in there for an index or a default page. It's configured to do that. So in this way, we can kind of break up all of our work as we move through the course into different weekly folders, and I can use one web app or web server, in this case on Azure, for the whole course. So week 4. Great. So that's terrific. So now we can publish our work. So what we're going to do here, let's go back to our code, and you can see here that the form, so we're now looking at index.php this time. We've renamed that. You'll see that the action is process form.php, and the method is get. So as soon as we hit a submit button on this form here, it will go to the, we'll head over to that form. So let's go and try this. So let's go and I'll type my first name, Scott Grindle, and I will hit Save Settings. And you'll see that what happens is we now have gone over to process form.php once I hit the submit button. And you'll also notice there's a question mark, and all of the variable names of each of the input controls, like F name equals Scott, and L name equal McCrindle, and ampersand phone equal null in this case, and email, and so on and so forth. So that is all passed because we put method get. That means all of the data from the form goes in the URL string. Here, you'll see it's quite lengthy. So that's how that works. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit. We're going to edit this page here so it can capture this data out of the get string and do something useful with it. So we're going to provide a nice kind of confirmation page that outputs and reiterates some of the things that the person has typed in the form. So we'll go back to the form here. So then we're going to go and we're going to load up process form.php. Okay. So step 1 here, we're going to capture all of the user inputted data from the form. So the way we do that, because the method, look over here, the method for the form data, because this was using method get, all this stuff gets kind of bagged up and thrown to the server as an array. So the server, and it's called something called the request array, and a subset of that request array is something called the get array. So I can refer to any and all of those. So say I want the first name of whatever the person typed in. I can create a variable So notice I'm typing within the PHP delimiters here. So I'm not actually, at this point, I'm actually writing script. I'm not using HTML. I'm actually programming in PHP. So I'm going to create a variable name called, I will call it F capital name, and we're going to equal, and we'll use this crazy syntax, $sign underscore, and then capital get, and then I use array syntax. So I use square brackets, and then in single quotes, what I will do is I will capture, if we go take a look at the input, name equal F name. So this is the variable name. This is what the name for the get. This is the key for the get. So it's F name. So name equals F name. So I go over here, and to capture that, I put F name. Terrific. Okay. So that's cool, and I can get a whole pile of things. I can get the I can grab the L name, the last name. I can grab the phone. I can grab the excuse me, email. I can grab the credit card type, year, month. So I can get credit card. I can grab that. I can grab the year that it expires, the month that it expires, or sorry, the name, the month it expires, and I can also grab the communication settings that they have selected, whether they want to be notified by email, phone, or SMS. So I can grab all of that in process form, and this is what it looks like. So F name will say, okay, let's grab lowercase l name, and what I'll do is I'll copy this to my clipboard to make it a little quicker. Get, and then I'll use square brackets, end the line with a semicolon, and what I'll do is I'll copy this here to my clipboard just to make it easier. So L name equals, and it's lowercase l, capital name. That's great. Okay, we'll grab the, let's grab the phone number. So phone, and then paste. And then the next thing I want to grab is the email address. Paste, and it's get email. The next piece of data I want is the credit card type. So CC capital type is equal to, I'll just paste again, and it's CC type. So I'm just using the same, basically setting up PHP variables. And the CC, I want the credit card expiry year. CC, I want month. And then I also want our communication preferences. So I'll put COMP1002 is equal to get, and it's simply COM. So I'm just being a bit more specific here. In that case, you could just call it COM if you want. So there you go. That will allow us. That will capture all of these, all of that information out of the get string as the user types it. The next step here is we want to output a friendly message with a paragraph to confirm that everything went well when they hit save, and we also by kind of bolting or stringing together. It's called concatenating the above form data. So let's go ahead here, and we're going to do that using PHP. We use a function in PHP called echo. So we say echo, and then in brackets, we surround with, inside a pair of brackets, we build out what we want to basically output and basically create our own HTML on the server. So we're using the server to write this HTML instead of us writing it ourselves. So we're going to say, okay, so now inside these two single prime, the single quotes, I'm going to actually write some HTML. So I want to echo or spit out a paragraph element that says, thank you, comma, space, and then I want to output their first name, whatever that might be. So then I'm out of the string. I go out and I put F capital name. and then I'm back into the string, so that I've kind of injected and glued that in there. Thank you, so on and so forth. First name, and then a space, and then I want ID, and of course now I'm just grabbing this, which is what they sent via the form using get, right? So L name dot concatenate, and then back into our paragraph. We'll put a dash and then say your payment information settings have been saved. So that's a kind of friendly message. And then we're finishing the HTML paragraph. So in effect, I'm building a custom paragraph element for this person with their first name and last name based on what they put on the form. And I'm going to print that back out to the HTML page on the server. And then the server will send them back just plain old HTML. So the server actually, the browser or the end user actually doesn't get any of this echo stuff. It doesn't. All it gets is what we print out or echo out to the page. So we'll do that, and we'll save that. File save. Now we can't with PHP. The difference here is we can't view this with a file like using file. We actually have to go to the internet and provide a URL. We have to actually use the web server because the runtime programming kind of environment runs on the server. I mean, you can have them configured to run on your local machine, but right now we're going to use a server. So in order to do that, now we have to say, okay, we have to go back to our file transfer protocol client, is what we call it. And this here has been, we have edited this file. So we have to replace the existing one on the server with our new one. So I drag this over here, and it says, whoa, this page already exists. What do you want me to do? Overwrite it? Overwrite it if the source is new or if it's a different file size, and there's all these different programs. So we want to overwrite the file. That's okay. So the local file we wrote here overwrites this one. And now I can now fill in, I don't know, let's say Riss Brown. Okay. So fill in a first and a last name, go ahead and hit Save Settings. And now you'll see that this custom paragraph has been written. So on the server, it took the name, the F name, and the L name values from the get string, assigned it variable names, and strung together this sentence injecting these two values. So, and we can see if we view this. So if I view the page source, so I'm actually looking at the HTML that the server sent us. There's the paragraph that we echoed out. You can see there is no echo here. So that happens on the server, and then the server just sends plain old HTML back to the browser. So in a sense, a PHP file is just an HTML file, but it enables us to use some scripting features on the server. That's great. So we're in good shape. We're going to take a quick breather here, and then we're going to kind of flesh this page out just a little bit more.